Let's talk resumes, CVs, whatever you want to call it. They're all the same sort of thing. For Victoria, at least, they have a CV or resume template that I think most people ended up using. I know in my cohort, we all essentially just took that template and then adapted it ourselves. You can do that. I think that's pretty easy. It has all the specific things for the internship aspect of it. I mean, you don't need to make it too fancy or elegant or whatever, and if you have a real simple template that you've been using for other part-time jobs, then you only need to slightly adjust it, include a few other things that would be more specific to the internship side of things rather than part-time work at a restaurant or whatever, but they're all sort of generally the same structure. So I would say if the health service or the state wants you to use a specific template, then go do that. Otherwise, use your own, or I mean, I've got one as well that I can link in the description that you can just download and, you know, put your own thing in. I don't really mind. It's up to you. So yeah, I also just found this random one on Notion that I think, you know, works pretty well. You can include a few extra things, but I actually don't mind this layout as well. So yeah, I'll include a template that you can use from me. All right, so your CV is a chance for you to show what you've done, what you've accomplished to the employer. And you might have a few different things on there, like your skills and, you know, extracurricular stuff. And I think your resume is a good chance to show you a bit of personality, you know, like if you're into volunteering, put that down. If you're into like shot putting and you're like the world's best shot putter, then put that in there. If you like to, I don't know, knit and you sell like your own like scarves that you knit, amazing. Put that in there. That's like a really cool skill. I think people don't know what to put in or what's relevant, or get a bit like, you know, get the blinkers on, you know, and they just you know, not sure what's important or not. And I think you haven't thought about yourself enough if that's where your head's at. But that's okay. You can always think better and you can always like adapt, and you pretty much already have the skills most of the time to put forward a really compelling CV. I mean, like, you don't need that much to make it stand out and make yourself like look pretty good. So anyways, let's just go through the basic stuff and I'll give you some pointers on what to do. So as I said, I just Googled this CV from this random Notion person, and they've got a bit of like an outline here. As you can see, you've got your name, which you can just put up there. You can put it in like a little paragraph about yourself if you want. You can get rid of this. I would keep the details about yourself. So put in your phone number because that's how they contact you. Put in your email address that you will actually check. Your website, you don't have to have a website. Just avoid that location if you want. I would also keep in skills as well. So I would put in skills or qualities or traits, whatever you want to call it. Essentially, like, you want to show the employer what your main things are. Like, I think I put moldability, I put like hardworking, and I put some other things in there. Might just like show them that those are the intentions that I focus on bringing to the job. That might be something simple that I do, but I think it really stands out. Your socials you can get rid of. So in terms of what you would include for an internship application, they like to see, you know, obviously what other jobs you've had in the past, you can put that in. So this is like your professional experience, your like employment history. So you might have worked as a coach for, I don't know, hockey for like a couple years after school. You can put that in. You might have been a part-time barista at some local cafe and you want to put that in. Whatever it is, you can put in your employment history. You can also put in your education, where you went to school, what degrees you've done. This is kind of interesting if you've done like a different degree, like maybe some person's done an arts degree or a master's in philosophy, or maybe you've done some sort of, I don't know, course in like cooking or whatever. You can put that in. That's kind of cool to show that to the employer that you've got some other stuff going on, and essentially just like where you like graduated university, where you went to medical school, what degrees you've got. Just put those in there. I think it's pretty self-explanatory what degree you got. Maybe if you graduated with like first class honors, you can put that in, and yeah, the name of the degree and where you went. You can also put in your rotations. So I know PMCV have actually, why don't we just get that up right now? CV template, 2024. Yeah, this is the one I used. So why don't we just go through this? Maybe I should have started with this. All right, so if they want you to use this, then just fill out all that stuff. You need your name, your university number, your candidate number, your resident status. Put in a photo of yourself in there. Answer these questions about where you live and if you can drive or not. If this is relevant to you, about how proficient you are in English, or if you've done any other tests, then you can put those in. Your education and qualifications, that's what I was talking about before. So anything you've done after high school, put it in here. Anything you've done in high school, put it in there, like where you went to school and stuff. Clinical placement, this is the thing I was talking about before. So you might put in that you went for 2 months at X hospital, and you did it in this rotation, and I don't know, maybe it was a 4-week rotation in pediatric anesthetics. Who knows? Just make it up. Whatever you've done, just like look back at your timetable or roster, and you can tell the employer where you've been rotated and what sort of experience you have. Your employment history, you can essentially just put in the jobs that I was talking about before. Maybe you've worked as a medical coder, maybe you've worked as a research assistant. They don't have to be medical related. I put in that I worked at a cinema for a couple of years. I was a private tutor, I did some coaching. Just put in all those details there. Volunteering history, put it in. Achievements and awards, yeah, put in like whatever awards, if you got some awards at school or in university or other different prizes and stuff. So this might include like you were the state representative for hockey in New South Wales and you actually went to the world championships or whatever, I don't know. Whatever, if you've done something like remarkable like that, like I definitely haven't. Like the best I got was probably like a best and fairest at like some school footy thing. So I'm not gonna put that in because I don't think it means much. But if you're a phenomenal human being and you've done some cool stuff or got some cool scholarships, put those in because it shows that you're a hardworking, amazing and talented individual. But if you're not like me, it doesn't matter. You can put in that you won your local hockey competition, or maybe you're like the head of the scouts or something. I'll actually put that in leadership roles. Put that in leadership instead. Yeah, and if you've got any like actual like medical awards, so maybe you won like the best poster for your clinical school in X year, then put that in. If you've done any research, publications and presentations, wouldn't stress about it if you haven't. I think I put in one thing that I did for the final year of medical school. If I didn't do that, then, and I had to do that because everyone had to. If you haven't got anything, then don't worry. You can say something you're working on if you want. That could be cool. Leadership roles and extracurricular achievements. Oh yeah, that's what I was talking about before. So maybe you're like the head leader of some scouts organization. Maybe you run a business about, you know, tutoring, or maybe you sell your own scarves knitting. Maybe you do that, or maybe you like run like a cooking class every week for some sort of thing and you're like the head organizer. Just put it in. I mean, essentially it's just space that you can put information in about yourself, that you're doing stuff outside of the medical degree. You're an actual normal real life human and you have some other interests other than treating heart failure or studying for exams. That's the main thing. They don't have to be like universally loved and recognized hobbies and extracurricular achievements. You might be like a gamer and you might essentially run or be a participant of some gaming organization where you teach like, I don't know, kids how to code or play video games, or maybe you just like repair iPhones at like some local shop in like a shopping center, you know, like those where you get your keys cut and you can fix iPhones, or I don't know, whatever it is. Like, I feel like that's cool. It doesn't really matter. Personal interests, yeah, just make yourself as unique as possible. I think talk about some stuff that you're interested in, your hobbies. The way I look at it for your personal interests, I think might be useful, because I was talking to, so My stepdad is an orthodontist, or was an orthodontist, and he worked in that field for a number of years. He worked closely and would refer on some patients to a maxillofacial surgeon. And this surgeon is quite like a senior person. They've been working in the field for ages. This person would get like a lot of applications to work under their, supervision for like a fellowship or whatever. And there would be a lot of people who would have the exact same things. So essentially, how would they choose which person got the job and which person didn't get the job? Often they said, after like having a conversation with my stepdad, the main things that boiled down to was some little things that put their skill set or, unique makeup above the other person. So sure, everyone's got a degree, everyone's got, good grades, they've done X number of exams, they've passed them, they've, done well at the interview or whatever. What are their interests? So there was one thing that they put down to, essentially, I think it was one person was like really passionate about fixing cars or mechanics, or I think they were like a bit of a handyman, or maybe they did some woodworking or something. I can't remember the exact skill, but boiled down to the fact that they had a hands-on hobby that made their fine motor skills probably better for a surgical specialty that requires really detailed fine motor, movements in maxillofacial surgery of like the face and the jaw and all those other things. So something as simple as that. So think about for yourself, what skill do I do? Maybe it's knitting, okay? So maybe you do knitting. That's a skill in itself that makes scarves, sure. But if you extrapolate the skill set that you could maybe get from knitting and how those skills of knitting may apply in the medical atmosphere, well, maybe your fine motor skills are pretty detailed, because you can not only knit, but you can also cross stitch, and maybe you make, super intricate patterns, and you've been doing that for 5 years and you really feel like that's upskilled you in terms of how you're able to move your hands and something like that, so it might be that stuff. Maybe you might go on a different tact and you essentially, maybe you surf life save. Maybe you do like some surf life saving or something, and that skill teaches you how to be cool, calm and collected under pressure. And in high stress situations where there's life and death, you're able to simplify it down, focus on the things that matter, and focus when everyone else is freaking out. Maybe that's a really good thing for potentially anesthetics, because they see that and they see a person who can actually hold their stuff together under pressure. And most of the time that's what anesthetics is like, anecdotally. Very protocoled, very formula driven, very stepwise approach. But in terms of when stuff goes really well, you see them sitting on their phones, checking their emails, watching like sport highlights. And then when stuff collapses, then they kick into gear, and being able to have a systemized, protocolized way of thinking in that high stress environment, super important. Maybe that's what surf life saving could demonstrate. If that link isn't, automatically generated in that person's mind, just tell them. Say, I do surf life saving. This helps me think clearly and simply in high stress environments, especially when faced with serious consequences like life or death. Amazing. What an amazing link. Put that in, Tell the people why stuff that you do is important and how that matters for the job that you're applying for. Anyways, that's just the basics of the CV application. Use this template that's standardized if you have to. Use something that you've already got going and have just slightly altered if you really want to. I'll put my own template in there as well, or just find a different one that you like. I don't think you should spend too much time like making it look pretty. Just put in the right details, get it done, submit it. I don't think many people will spend too much time looking at the CV, but just make sure you have all the right details in there. All right, CV done. We're going on to the next step, which we're gonna talk about written application questions. Now, and we'll talk about this soon, but different hospitals may have specific questions that you have to answer before going on to finish the internship application process. We're gonna get a few questions that I've seen in the past that I've answered, how I've answered them, and what you should actually include and look for. So yeah, next up, internship written application questions specific to the hospital. Wow, that's too wordy. Anyways, written application questions. Let's go through that next.